There is a secret rhythm to life in Japan, a quiet, productive hum that begins long before the crowded trains start running. It's a rhythm built not on rushing, but on deliberate, focused action. And it has a name, Asa-Katsu. If you translate it directly, it means morning activity. But in practice, it's much deeper than that. It's the intentional carving out of personal time between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m., time dedicated solely to self-improvement, learning, or quiet contemplation, before the demanding structure of Japanese corporate life takes over. For 7 days, I decided to fully immerse myself in this routine, waking up at 5 a.m. sharp. And honestly, I didn't just gain a few extra hours. I fundamentally changed the way I view time, productivity, and myself. This is the story of my 7-day Asa-Katsu challenge. Before we dive into the painful reality of day 1, we have to understand the philosophy. Asa-Katsu isn't just a trend. It's a response to a uniquely Japanese problem, the overwhelming pressure of the workday. In a culture where long hours and dedication to the company are the norm, personal time is a scarce and precious commodity, often relegated to the late hours of the night when exhaustion is already setting in. Asa-Katsu flips this script. It's a proactive rebellion against burnout. Instead of sacrificing your evenings to self-improvement when you're mentally drained, you front-load your day, capitalizing on what many Japanese experts call the golden hour, the time when the brain is freshest and most receptive to deep work. It's about stealing back your own life, one quiet morning hour at a time. The historical roots are fascinating too. While the term is relatively modern, the concept of dedicated morning practice is rooted deeply in Zen Buddhism and the Samurai Code, where morning rituals of cleaning, contemplation, and preparation were essential for mental clarity before facing the day's challenges. I wasn't just setting an alarm. I was attempting to tap into centuries of cultural discipline. My motivation for this challenge was simple. I was tired of feeling perpetually behind. Like many of you, my evenings were chaotic, a mix of catching up on chores, replying to emails I should have dealt with earlier, and then collapsing onto the couch, feeling like I had accomplished nothing meaningful. I wanted to experience that famed Japanese efficiency, not just in the corporate sense, but in the realm of personal growth. The goal was rigorous: 5 a.m. every single day for 7 days. Rain or shine, fatigue or energy. There would be no hitting the snooze button, no checking my phone until 7 a.m., and a strict adherence to a structured, mindful routine. My life was about to get drastically quieter, and potentially much harder. Day 1 was brutal. I mean truly, physically painful. When the alarm went off at 5 a.m., my body felt like it was encased in concrete. The room was dark, the air was cold, and every fiber of my being screamed for 5 more minutes. This wasn't just a physical struggle, it was a psychological battle against inertia. The first 30 minutes were a haze of stumbling to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face, and convincing myself that this was not a mistake. The key to surviving this initial shock, I quickly realized, was having the first activity be non-negotiable and immediate. I couldn't allow myself to sit down, or the gravitational pull of the bed would win. This brings us to the first pillar of the Asa-Katsu routine I adopted, O-Soji, or mindful cleaning. O-Soji is not just tidying up. It is a profound ritualistic practice. It translates roughly to great cleaning, and it's steeped in Shinto philosophy, where the act of purification of your physical space is directly linked to the purification of the mind. For 20 minutes every morning, I dedicated myself to cleaning one small area of my home. Day 1 was the kitchen counter. I didn't rush. I focused entirely on the task at hand. The feel of the cloth, the smell of the cleaner, the reflection of the light on the newly polished surface. By removing the physical clutter, I was simultaneously clearing the mental clutter that had accumulated overnight. This deliberate, focused work acted as a form of active meditation. The sheer accomplishment of having a sparkling clean space before most people had even considered opening their eyes gave me an immediate, tangible win. It wasn't just my house that felt lighter. My head did too. Following O-Soji, I moved into a 15-minute period of Zazen, or seated meditation. This combination, active cleaning followed by stillness, was the perfect primer, grounding me entirely in the present moment and ensuring I approached the rest of the day from a place of centered calm rather than reactive haste. Once the mind and space were clean, it was time for the morning fuel, Asa-Gohan. This wasn't a grab-and-go protein bar situation. The Japanese breakfast is a ritual of nourishment and balance, often following the principle of Ichiju Sansai, or one soup, three sides. I prepared a simple but deliberate meal: steamed rice, miso soup, a small piece of grilled fish, and some pickled vegetables. The preparation itself became part of the mindfulness practice. I didn't eat while scrolling through social media or watching the news. I sat down, observed the food, appreciated the flavors, and ate slowly. The difference this made to my energy levels throughout the morning was astounding. Unlike the sugar spike and crash I often experienced with Western breakfasts, the complex carbohydrates and protein provided a steady, sustained release of energy. More importantly, this quiet, nourishing meal set a tone of respect. Respect for the food, respect for my body, and respect for the time I had created. This deliberate act of consuming energy slowly and mindfully felt like I was charging my internal battery in the most optimal way possible, preparing it for a long, demanding day. With my space clean, my mind centered, and my body nourished, I entered the most productive phase of the Asa-Katsu routine, the deep work block. From 6:30 a.m. to 7:45 a.m., I had a sacred, uninterrupted 75 minutes. This is the time when the world truly is silent. Emails aren't flooding in, Slack channels are dormant, and the constant digital demands haven't yet begun their assault. During this time, I tackled the most difficult, cognitively demanding task of my entire day. For me, this often meant writing complex reports or working on creative projects that required sustained focus. The clarity I experienced was unlike anything I had felt during my usual 10 a.m. work block. Psychologists talk about achieving a flow state, a period of intense concentration where you lose track of time. In the 5 a.m. hour, flow state was effortless. There were no external distractions to pull me out of it. I found that I could accomplish tasks that would normally take me 3 hours later in the day in less than half that time. By the time 8 a.m. rolled around, I had already achieved my major goal for the day. Everything that followed felt like bonus time, which dramatically reduced my stress and eliminated that nagging feeling of looming deadlines. However, the challenge was not without its pitfalls. Around day 4, the midweek crisis hit hard. The initial excitement and adrenaline of starting a new routine wore off, and the accumulated sleep debt started demanding payment. I woke up with a headache, feeling heavy and irritable. This is often the point where these kinds of challenges fail. The temptation to hit snooze or simply crawl back under the duvet and declare the whole thing a noble failure was overwhelming. I realized then that Asa-Katsu isn't about running on pure willpower. It's about establishing sustainable systems. On day 4, I had to adjust slightly. Instead of pushing myself into intense deep work, I focused solely on the grounding rituals, the O-Soji, the Zazen, and the slow breakfast. I allowed the deep work block to be a lighter task. The lesson was crucial. Consistency trumps intensity. It's better to show up imperfectly every day than to burn out trying to be a productivity machine for 3 days straight. By allowing myself this grace period, I managed to push through the dip, and by day 5 the energy returned. But this time, it felt earned and stable, not manufactured by adrenaline. As the week progressed, my focus naturally shifted outward. I started noticing things about the world outside that I had never seen before. Waking up at 5 a.m. meant I was privy to the social shift, the quiet transition of the neighborhood from night to day. While many people associate Japan with bustling, neon-lit city centers, the early morning reveals a deeply peaceful side. I saw elderly neighbors tending to their meticulously kept gardens, performing their own slow morning rituals. I saw delivery drivers making their first quiet rounds. I remember one morning, standing on my balcony drinking my green tea, I watched an obasan, an elderly woman, sweeping the pavement in front of her small shop. She wasn't rushing. She was sweeping with a steady, rhythmic motion that was almost meditative. There was a sense of ownership and presence in her movements that spoke volumes about how the Japanese view their immediate environment. This quiet observation reinforced the idea that life doesn't have to be a desperate race against the clock. By being awake when the world was slow, I felt more connected to the community and the natural cycle of the day, rather than feeling like a mere cog in the machine of the morning commute. Beyond the measurable productivity gains and the observational insights, the most profound change was psychological. Before the challenge, I lived in a state of perpetual low-level anxiety, driven by the feeling that I was always trying to catch up. I was constantly anticipating the next task, checking my phone, and worrying about future deadlines. Asa-Katsu introduced the concept of yutori into my life. Yutori is a wonderful, untranslatable Japanese concept that means spaciousness, or a sense of leisure and unhurriedness in time. By front-loading my accomplishments, I created a buffer zone. When I started my official workday at 9 a.m., I had already done the hardest thing, cleaned my space, meditated, and eaten well. This meant that when unexpected challenges or demands arose during the day, I had the mental spaciousness, the yutori, to handle them calmly, rather than reacting from a place of stress. The anxiety didn't vanish entirely, but it was drastically reduced because I was no longer fighting the clock. I was ahead of it. I had claimed my day before the day had claimed me. The reduction in evening decision fatigue was another unexpected benefit. Because I had used my peak mental energy in the morning for deep work, my evenings were truly free. I wasn't trying to squeeze in exercise or chores or planning the next day's meals while exhausted. Everything was done. This allowed me to use my evenings for genuine relaxation, connection with family, or light reading, rather than feeling obligated to be productive. The quality of my sleep improved dramatically. Not necessarily the quantity of sleep, but the quality, because my mind was quieter and less burdened by the day's unfinished business. This virtuous cycle, better sleep, leading to better mornings, leading to more productive days, leading to quieter evenings, was the true revolution of the Asa-Katsu challenge. So, after 7 days, what was the final verdict? Did this brutal 5 a.m. routine truly change my life? Yes, but perhaps not in the way you might expect. It wasn't the hours themselves that were transformative. It was the discipline and the philosophy underpinning them. Asa-Katsu forced me to prioritize self-investment and mindfulness over reactive living. It taught me that the most valuable hours of the day are the ones you fiercely protect from external noise. I learned that the Japanese focus on efficiency isn't just about speed. It's about eliminating waste. Waste of time, waste of energy, and waste of mental bandwidth. While waking up at 5 a.m. every single day might not be sustainable for everyone indefinitely, the core principles absolutely are. I realized that the goal isn't necessarily to become a permanent 5 a.m. riser, but to find your own personal golden hour. For me, the sweet spot, the sustainable integration of this lifestyle, seems to be 5:30 a.m. or 6 a.m. on weekdays, allowing me to maintain the core rituals of O-Soji, Zazen, and Asa Gohan. The fundamental transformation was the shift in identity. I stopped identifying as someone who was always struggling to catch up and started seeing myself as someone who proactively shakes their environment and their schedule. This challenge proved that small, consistent habits, when rooted in a powerful philosophy of respect for time and self, can yield monumental results. If you've ever considered trying to reclaim your mornings, I urge you to look beyond the Western productivity hype and embrace the slow, deliberate, and deeply grounding practice of Asa-Katsu. It's the quiet secret weapon of Japanese life, and it might just be the quiet revolution your own life needs. Thank you for joining me on this intensely early journey. Let me know in the comments below, what is the one Japanese habit you would try for 7 days? And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into global lifestyle hacks. See you in the next video.